I would like to ask you to introduce yourself, give brief information of your background.
Yeah. So my name is Franziska, as she already said, and I'm 25. And I first studied intercultural studies as a bachelor's, and I studied that in Germany, but also in England. So it was a double degree program, and I also wrote my bachelor thesis in England, which was quite a challenge at the time for me. And then after I came back from England, I decided that I want to focus more on geography. So I decided to study the master's Geography of Global Change, because it still has kind of the international perspective, I would say, and we also did a lot of excursions abroad and to other countries, and it's very much focused on applied science or doing research in the field, and I really like that. So it's a lot of practical research. So we write a lot of proposals and also a lot of reports, also often together. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm at my at the end of my master's, and when I come back from Baku in December, I'll start writing my master thesis. I'm quite excited, also a little bit scared because I feel like it should be very important and a very good topic. But well, I guess I'll find something. So yeah.
Okay, as every student, I know that you have written a lot of papers during your studies, and I want to ask, what kind of paper do you write most often?
Most often, I guess most often I've written seminar papers. I think it might be specific to Germany, but it has this title seminar paper, and it's basically a scientific discussion of one topic. Sometimes we include our own data in it, but sometimes it's just based on what we research. And it's normally about 15 to 25 pages long, and we write quite a few of them each semester, normally like 5 or so, and then of course we also have other tasks, but that's what I've written most. Yeah.
I would like to ask about your writing process, like how you come to this final paper.
Yeah.
Do you usually write multiple drafts or?
So I always have just one document, and I constantly work on the whole document. So I always, every time I open it, I reread parts of it and I make corrections. So it's not like I have different drafts and then I write a new one or something like that, but I write on one document for a long time, I guess.
Okay, and what is your writing routine? How do you usually start?
So normally, do you mean the whole process of writing one?
Yes.
Okay. Normally, I put a lot of time into the research and the reading. I think more than half of the time I spend on a paper is doing research. And when I read papers, I already start taking notes. So for every paper I read, I normally have an excerpt, like it's a Word document with quotes from this paper, and I already cite it correctly, so that afterwards, when I write my paper, I can just copy and paste it into my final paper. So that's what takes the most time, I think, and then I start writing. And then when I write, I think I get up very early. I try to be in the library all day, and just write. I force myself to write. I don't know.
Do you have any special writing rituals that help you to be more productive?
Okay, so I drink coffee a lot. That's helpful. I also normally have some kind of snacks with me. And what is very important for me is that I switch location a lot of the time. So in my university city, we have many libraries, and I stay in one for maybe 2 or 3 days. Then I definitely have to leave and go to another place because it gives me more energy. I don't know. Sometimes if I'm very stressed, I also write at home because it gives me a more comfortable feeling. But normally I prefer to go to the library.
You like changing atmospheres?
Yes, definitely. And I think it always gives me a fresh inspiration. I don't know.
What is the busiest time of the year for you when you write a lot of papers? Is it middle of semester or end of semester?
So I have a very specific study program, and the first, the winter semester, it's from September to February. We have courses that go for 1 semester. So it's a course once every week. I guess that's the normal way of studying. And then in this case, in the winter semester, we have to hand like in our papers in February or March. So that's a time when I'm super busy. Like it starts normally shortly before Christmas and goes until February, March. But then in the summer semester I had kind of condensed modules. So it's only one module for 3 weeks and it's super intensive. It's like a whole day presence also. And during this time I also have to write a report and I also have to give presentations. So then I'm 3 weeks long super busy anyway. So yeah, that's kind of.
Sometimes when we have writing assignments, these situations that we sit in front of the computer and look at this blank paper and don't know what to write. Like, do you face these writer's blocks?
Yes, a lot of the time. And well, what I normally do is either I read through other pages of my paper and correct things, or I do, the annoying formatting things. When I can't produce something new, I try to at least improve my old written things. And if it's very bad, I really need to go outside. I do sports, I do something else, I meet friends, because I don't see a point in just sitting in front of the computer. I need to move, I need to get new inspiration, so I try not to think about it for a few hours or a day.
Here in Writing Center, when students come to us, we usually look at the structure of the paper. And what do you think? What is more important, the content or the form of the paper?
Yeah, I think that good content is not as good if the form is bad. So I think the form strongly contributes actually even to the content, because the way you present your results also gives, I guess it's a first interpretation of your results. So the way you present the results gives certain, emphasis to some aspects and maybe emphasize other aspects not so much. So I think for me, it's super important and it contributes a lot to the quality of a paper.
Do you spend time on proofreading and polishing the essays?
Yeah, definitely, but I do it a lot during the process of writing already. So I always read through passages again, and then normally at the end I print out the whole document, I sleep one night, and then I read it through again with like a pencil, and afterwards I do the final corrections. But that's just one day where I read it one more time and it's almost finished already. So.
What was the hardest writing assignment you have ever had, and how could you deal with it?
Yeah, I think there's maybe 2 or 3 which were equally hard, but the first one was definitely my bachelor thesis in England, because I wrote it in English literature, and so in English literature the style of writing is very important and also contributes to the grade you get. So I thought, how am I supposed to write as sophisticated as the English people? And I was very worried that it would be very bad, and so I spent so much time in front of the computer, and I also went to friends and we went through passages together, and I spent just like maybe double the time that I would have spent on it if it was in German. But in the end it was a very good grade as well, so it paid off as well. But that was hard because also I didn't know what's good. I didn't know, is this good now or not? So yeah. And one more thing was maybe I wrote one paper for political science, and I'm not a political science student. It was like a module I took extra, and I didn't know like the standards, and I didn't know what was good or what was bad. So this was also very hard for me, and again I just used much more time for it, and yeah.
As you applied to degree programs, you have written personal statements and research proposals. And can you tell us a little bit how much time you spent on these papers and how you started writing them?
So you mean with personal statement for applying for a program?
For a degree.
Yeah. Yes. I guess I spend maybe like 4 or 5 hours. And then maybe the next day again I look at it and maybe correct things, but to write it itself maybe for 4 or 5 hours, yeah. And research proposal is, again, I think a lot more complicated, because in German, with German standards, the research proposal already has to have, you must have written several books and journals and well, it's a lot of work that you need to demonstrate in this research proposal. So I guess it might take 2 weeks or it might take 3 weeks. I mean, in these 3 weeks, I wouldn't only focus on this proposal, but I would constantly work on it. Yeah.
Many of our bachelor students, they want to continue their studies in Germany. And can you give some piece of advice to students who apply for studying abroad in Germany?
Yeah, I guess my biggest advice is do research on the internet very carefully about the study programs, because I know that many people just look at the ranking, for example, of universities and they see, oh, the Munich University is at the top, I want to study there. But in Germany, actually, the quality of the universities is all quite at the same level, because in Germany there has to be equality in the funding. So all universities roughly get the same equipment, and many universities have grown for several hundred years. So I would really say that most of the universities have quite a high standard. And then I think it's more important to look at the study program itself, because if, for example, in my city where I study, medicine is very, very good, but other subjects are not so good. So I wouldn't study a language there, for example. So really make sure you do research online and also look at what requirements the universities state, because sometimes people assume, oh, if I have English skills, it'll be fine. But then they often have very specific requirements, or they want German skills as well. So I guess the research part is the most important. Yeah.
Basically, these were all the questions I wanted to ask. Thank you. And now I give the floor to the audience. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask.
Actually, I've seen this in the UK when I was studying in the UK, and I used this service a lot, but I don't think we have it in Germany, and I think it's a big lack, or they should have something like that, but I don't think it's very common. And I think my university, Freiburg, I think they offer, sometimes it's like an elective module where you could be advised on that, but it would be several weeks long, and you can't just go there with one question, but it's more like a set program. So I think writing centers are very rare. I'm sure some universities have it, but it's not such a big thing, I think, which is sad. But on the other hand, for example, when I started my bachelor, we had one module which only focused on academic writing, and it was like very intense. Just we had to write several papers and reports, and they were always like corrected very, very carefully. So I guess that was a good introduction into this. Yeah, so these courses that I was talking about that are offered sometimes for a few weeks, they are open to everyone. Yeah. But in Germany, these things are very specific to each university. So they have many, like, some university might offer more sports in free time, another might offer more academic support. So I can't answer that for all German universities. But
I have one question.
Yeah?
Have you already written a paper in Azerbaijan, or
No,
during your work?
I didn't write a paper here. I did write a research proposal, though, or like a project proposal.
It was
Several
for
ones.
Project in Azerbaijan.
Yes, yes.
Did it differ somehow from the ones that you wrote in German?
Yes, yes, a lot. So it was for the international office where I work, and they apply for funding for a summer school. And for this, to get this funding, they already had to give information about the program that they want to develop and what it's going to be about. And I was super surprised. I think we started working on it 3 days before the deadline, and I was like, we're never gonna make it. And in Germany, this would happen maybe 3 weeks in advance at least. And then also you would have to give much more detailed information. You would have to give, I don't know, more academic background, more academic literature put into it. And you would research for a long time. Can we do this topic? Can we choose this topic? Is it okay? And here it was just like, let's do it. And it was fine, and it worked. I think we'll get the funding, I'm pretty sure. So sometimes maybe Germans are a little bit too slow and detailed and bureaucratic, I guess. Yeah. So my routine is I always, when I read a paper, I have one Word document open, and I write all the notes directly when I read it into this one document, into this Word document, and I even like already, you know, do the source citing like at the top of this at the top of the page, and then if I have statements that I directly copy out of the text, I already cite them correctly so that I can really just copy and paste it later into my final document. And I just name this Word document, you know, with the details of the author and so on. So that makes it very easy for me to see, okay, this information was from this author, and yeah. So I think what counts is, or the important thing I always try to do is to connect my past experiences and everything that happened in my past with my future plans, and to connect this connection again with what I'm applying for. So if, for example, I'm applying for, I don't know, studying abroad, then I kind of try to explain, well, why did I choose the study programs that I chose? Why did this make me choose something else? And I try to build up this whole, you know, coherent image of myself that finally leads to the decision of wanting to study abroad. So I try to link everything so that it seems like one coherent, straight, career path or life path maybe. I think that's important, but also I think it's important for me and for German standards to kind of show a little bit of personality while being very official and very, formal. I think that's sometimes not very easy, and I've seen in Azerbaijan, I've seen many people writing too emotional or too, not so very formal, and I think in our standards, you need to be very formal, so in Germany. So it's difficult to show some personality still, but